recorded live lesson as we learn about the fourth type of trait that all organisms exhibit. So if you would please go ahead and have your science notebook out, and we're going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and start our class by sharing my screen with you. And our last characteristic of all organisms is the fourth one. Organisms gather resources. Give me a second. Let me fix a typo. Organisms gather resources for energy. There we go. Organisms gather resources for energy. Our learning objective today, your learning objective, is I can analyze and interpret information that supports how an organism collects resources. So we're going to make sure as sixth grade scientists that there are some things we understand. Remember my promise to you, our biology unit introduces a lot of new words that we may not have seen in the past. So we're going to take some time today to study that vocabulary in context and make sure that you're prepared for our checking for understanding assignment today. If you would please make sure that you've written the title here, Organisms Gather Resources for Energy. Just a reminder, this lesson is being recorded and will be available to you at 8:48 today through my YouTube channel and in your Schoology blue folder. So let's go ahead and get to work. Gathering resources. What does that mean? Well, before we can talk about gathering resources, how all organisms, no matter if they're plants, fungi, bacteria, animals, or humans, we need to understand what in the world a resource is. So in our notes, let's write down the question, what are resources? What are resources? It's important for us to know that resources are needs, things that we need to live. So for example, food, water, and air. Okay, and we're going to specifically focus in our lesson today about how organisms gather food as a resource. So what does it mean to gather resources? It means collect, or we'll learn about this today, make food. Yes, we're going to start studying about two different types of organisms. One type of organism that collects food from outside of their body, and another type of organism that makes their own food using their bodies. Take some time to finish writing this down. Miss Neville's going on in a minute.
Miss Neville.
Hey, Emma. Yes, ma'am.
Will we have any assignments to do?
Yes, ma'am. The assignment will be released to you, and we'll go over it after I finish teaching this lesson. Good question.
Miss Neville,
Yes.
my dad said he needs to know what you could do to bring my
what you can do.
what I can do to bring my grades up. He need to call and talk to you.
Okay. So we'll do that. I have first, second, and third period today. So tell Dad that he can email me his contact information, and I'll call him today at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank you.
all the email?
He said, can you write his number down?
So because your mama does all the email and I don't.
Because my mom does all the email and he don't.
Okay, I'll have to do that after I teach the lesson, okay?
Okay.
So, as we continue in our notes today, it's important for us to understand that there are two different types of animals or organisms. Sorry, there are two different types of organisms. There are heterotrophs and there are autotrophs. With your mics turned off, try to say those words. Autotrophs, heterotrophs. And when we're looking at these two today, if you would please create in your notes a T-chart. On one side, it needs to say heterotrophs. And on the other side, it needs to say autotrophs. Okay? And instead of drawing these pictures, let me repeat, you don't need to necessarily draw these pictures, but you do need to list these examples of heterotrophs and these examples of autotrophs. It's important for us to know that a heterotroph, like us, like humans, gathers food from outside its body. So some examples of heterotrophs would be humans, animals, and fungi. Yes, the mold that you find on your breads or older foods, the mushrooms, okay? And some microorganisms that we can't see with our naked eye, these are all fungi. And all of these are considered heterotrophs. In other words, they have to find food. They can't make their own food, okay? Heterotrophs. Our second type of organism that collects food or gathers resources is autotrophs. Autotrophs make their own food using their bodies. So what we see here is a plant, pretty easy. And you want to make sure you list this guy. You may want to draw a little picture here beside it. I'll be on this slide for a while. We want to make sure we understand here that this is a bacteria that's being seen under a microscope. And this bacteria's name is Euglena. Yes, both plants and this type of bacteria make their own food using a process called photosynthesis. Both plants and bacteria make their own food using a process called photosynthesis. Take some time to finish drawing this chart. Remember, you don't have to draw the pictures. You just need to list the types of organisms that are considered heterotrophs and the types of organisms that are considered autotrophs. You don't need to draw the pictures. Ms. Neville will be going on at 8:25.
Miss Neville.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the best science teacher.
Thank you, Emma. That's very sweet.
Neville?
Yes.
So for the autotrophs, what like different types of bacteria would be an example of that?
Yep, specifically this type of bacteria. Not all bacteria make their own food. I would go ahead and tell you that most bacteria have to find their food and eat it, just like humans, fungi, and animals. This type of bacteria, though, Euglena, are autotrophic. That means they can make their own food using photosynthesis.
Okay.
Okay. So when we're talking about heterotrophs, it's important for us to know that we may hear the phrase. We want to make sure we understand that heterotrophs, and you may have already written this down in your T-chart. We want to make sure we understand that a heterotroph has to collect its own food. Yes, it has to gather food outside of its body. Okay, and so you may hear or read something that says an animal is heterotrophic. This is just the adjective form describing the type of organism that we're talking about. So a heterotrophic organism would be animals, humans, fungi. Okay, and so when we're looking at these, it's important for us to know that word heterotroph means I have to gather food outside of myself. I have to go to McDonald's and grab some chicken McNuggets if I'm hungry. I have to go to the grocery store and cook dinner if I'm hungry. If I'm a tiger, I must hunt for my prey so that I can eat. So these are examples of heterotrophic organisms. Autotrophic organisms. Autotrophic organisms are organisms that are able to make their own food. Organisms that make their own food. Okay, so specifically an autotrophic, So specifically, an autotrophic, much better, organism would be plants and Euglena, which is a type of bacteria, a type of bacteria, and both of these types of organisms use a process called photosynthesis, to make their own food. And when we start studying about plants deeper in the next couple weeks, you're going to understand what photosynthesis is. Some of you may remember it from 4th grade science. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Ms. Neville will go on in 2 minutes. Okay, so let's talk about, that's the end of our notes for today. Remember, if Ms. Neville went too fast for you today, you'll want to make sure that you watch the recorded lesson that I'll be making available for you in a second. When we're talking today, your graded assignment will be released in the next couple minutes. By about 8:48, that graded assignment will be released. I want to talk to you about what that graded assignment will look like. And you're actually going to have 2 graded assignments that you're going to be working on today. So the first graded assignment you'll work on, I've not released it yet. It's called Obtaining Resources for Energy. And the second graded assignment that you'll be working on is Identifying Characteristics of Organisms, Checkup. Both of these assignments are going to have different due dates, and I'm going to change those due dates for you. Today's assignment that I will release at 8:48 will be due tomorrow. And tomorrow's the Identifying Characteristics of Organisms assignment will be due Thursday. So you'll want to make sure you're getting those assignments done using your notes. Remember, use your 2 attempts wisely, and make sure that you contact Miss Neville or attend our tutoring sessions on Tuesday or Thursday mornings for the extra help that you need. It is never a good idea to do both attempts back to back because Miss Neville does not give you extra attempts. The obtaining resources checking for understanding assignment will be teacher graded, and the identifying characteristics of organisms will not be teacher graded. Once again, both of those assignments will be released at 8:48 today, okay? Are there any questions?